Hello and welcome to Sparks. I'm Monica Harris, the Interim Executive Director of RAILS, the Reaching Across Illinois Library System. This is the 42nd episode of our podcast series. RAILS developed this podcast to spark conversation about important library trends and issues. And today we're talking to Chicago Public Library Commissioner Chris Brown about the book sanctuary. Welcome, Chris, to the podcast.
Monica, thank you for having me. I know you know that I'm newer to the greater Chicago area, and it's a thrill to be with our Illinois partners and colleagues. So hello to everybody tuning in at home.
Well, we're so excited to have you here. It's been a really exciting process of getting to know you and getting to hear more about what Chicago Public Library is up to over the last year. So I'm excited we get to share that with all of our listeners today. But I did want to start out just by giving you the opportunity to talk a little bit about this really exciting project that you guys have going on, which is the book sanctuary. So could you just start out by telling us exactly what the book sanctuary is?
Sure. I think everybody in the library field is very aware of the challenges that we're seeing, and the majority of those are really happening in our school libraries, in our suburban areas, and every library system and community being served is very unique and different.
Yeah.
And at the Chicago Public Library, we're serving an incredibly diverse city. Our city leadership is very committed to equity, to celebrating our diversity. And we were watching this unfolding of an unprecedented rise in book challenges. All of our viewers who are working in libraries are very aware of how ALA is monitoring and keeping track of just how much of an increase in those challenges that we're seeing. And as the Chicago Public Library, we were thinking about how do we play a role as a model and as an example, not because we're one of the bigger library systems, but I think we as a field all have an obligation to model for each other and figure out how are we living out our values every day, no matter our library size, if you're a one library in a school or a big city system.
Yeah.
So the book sanctuary came out of that desire to figure out how is Chicago Public Library living out our values and our mission, which includes the statement around freedom to read, that we're making sure all of Chicago has the freedom to read, to learn, to discover. And in a city of such diversity, how do we make sure our public know that they can always turn to our library? And that was where the book sanctuary really came from, this desire to declare our libraries, our 81 locations, as safe spaces for stories. Now, of course, we all already do this work of championing diverse voices and narratives, and so it's really about recognizing the work that we all already do, making sure that our public have an opportunity to celebrate that freedom as well, recognizing that a book sanctuary doesn't need to be a library. It doesn't need to be in a school. It can be a coffee shop. It can be a community center, any place that's celebrating stories that are being challenged. And so we declared our 81 locations book sanctuaries this past fall as part of Banned Books Week, and wanted to explore how do we build out and make that effort more robust. So as our One Book, One Chicago, we chose Art Spiegelman's Mouse, one of the most frequently challenged books, this groundbreaking Pulitzer Prize winning graphic novel. We started banned book or challenged book reading clubs around the city to make sure that people had a chance not just to hear from a frequently challenged voice or author, but also to simply be together and exploring these stories. And then have been making more frequently challenged materials available through our ebook platforms and making sure that we always have those copies available to our city. So that's how we launched this effort to celebrate our diversity, to celebrate our role as libraries, but then also came up with some fun copy like, join the resistance, and some books have a hero, other books need a hero, to just really reinforce how we're showing up as a field to celebrate the freedom to read. And we've had over 1,400 people and libraries throughout the country, throughout all 50 states, designate their libraries or their personal library as book sanctuaries. So we're really thrilled with the response. And,
Wow.
and of course, it's something that's not a one and done. It's a continuous commitment that we're living out month to month. And so we're really excited to see more libraries adopt and join this resistance.
1,400 is amazing. I mean, it really shows, I think, both the reach and how well executed the campaign was, but also, the need and the interest in supporting, these unprecedented rise in book challenges that we're really experiencing right now across the country. So you mentioned some of the support that you've gotten in terms of other libraries adopting this. What has the community reaction been like so far?
Well, in Chicago, where we really celebrate this diverse city, I was thrilled to see the Tribune name Chicago and Chicago Greater Area Library Workers as their Chicagoans of the Year.
Yeah.
And that was really nice because I think the field experiences this tension at a neighborhood level. We've seen videos of community groups disrupting story times, or we know that people who are working in our libraries are where some of this tension can play out. And I really want to be clear that this isn't about telling people that they have to read banned books, or we have an agenda to make sure that your kids or your families are reading specific titles. It's more about making sure that every individual family and household has the opportunity to make that decision for themselves.
Yeah.
And that what my taste is, or what I identify with, isn't being pushed on to another family or another household or another town or city, which may have a completely different need when it comes to looking at the narratives that they resonate with. So I was really thrilled to see the Tribune call out library workers, not just Chicago library workers, but the greater Chicago area in Illinois, because while the Chicago Public Library is doing this work and trying to be a model for ourselves in the field, we are very aware that every municipality is different, and the tensions that other libraries are seeing or library workers are seeing throughout the country, it may not be as easy to make that statement. So part of this is for our city, and part of it's for the field to have that message out there that we're with you. We're committed to the values that we all are united by.
Well, and I think it amplifies that commitment to freedom to read that you highlighted earlier. I think that's obviously a shared value throughout our entire field, and the work that you're doing can really allow folks to have another option to really look at how they can share that with their community. So if somebody is interested in getting involved or wants to become a book sanctuary, how can they do it?
They can go to thebooksanctuary.org and register their library, their personal library, their classroom library, their coffee shop library as a book sanctuary. And of course, they can hashtag the book sanctuary to let other people know what they're reading, to share their collection or their frequently challenged books that they want to see more visibility for. And for the library field, we have a whole set of collateral on that website. We are a field that shares. We oftentimes develop best practices, and different library systems look at what each other are doing. We get inspired to think about, how does this work in my library? And we've created a whole set of bookmarks and posters that libraries can adopt and take freely from. They can alter, put on their own logo. It's not prescriptive. It's just meant to be tools that we can all share, which I think is something I've always appreciated about the library field.
Yeah, I was really excited when I was looking through the toolkit at what you all put together. And I think along with it being resources that people can really use, it's also really beautifully designed. So I would definitely encourage anybody who has an interest in this to take a look and see if it's something that might work for them, because it is really stunning and I think a great way to share what's going on with your community. Yeah, have you had a lot of interest? I know you mentioned, people could do this for their coffee shop library or, their little free library. Have you had a lot of interest from individuals about having their own personal collections as book sanctuaries?
I think the response has been very positive, lots of likes. I know every library shared a post maybe a couple months back that had something like over 1,000 likes in the first couple of hours. So I think people resonate with this sentiment that we want to celebrate our diversity, not make it less visible. And I think every day response has been positive. I think where we really want to go is we want to work with more libraries, because they're the ones that have the relationship with their community members.
Yeah.
The Chicago Public Library, we're really thrilled to help elevate some tools and give some more visibility to what we're doing. But I think as a field, we have over 9,000 public library systems in our country. I think the goal is to have more libraries adopt or utilize or become inspired or figure their formula, so that there's more community-based visibility. Because I think campaigns are wonderful. I think the marketing can have its own impact. And as you mentioned, the copy, I'm so thrilled with it.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with the taglines. But I think real change and real engagement happens people or person to person. And so I think the real power in our field is the community level presence that all of our libraries have, special libraries, academic, public, and school. They're engaging with people on a one-to-one basis at events, and they're the ones that have the trust developed with their neighborhoods and their cities and counties. And that's really my hope, is that we have more field adoption, because that's how I think we reach people, is through the collective work.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that this gives an opportunity for some of our listeners today to go and check out the Book Sanctuary and see more about what the toolkit is involved and what it might take to be part of a book sanctuary. Anything else about the book sanctuaries coming up that you want to share with the podcast listeners today?
I don't want to reveal and take the thunder away from some of our partners, but we're really thrilled that we have some big library systems that are going to be joining throughout the US and Canada in the coming months. I know Ferguson Library just joined as well. So big and small, we're thrilled to be coming together on this project. And we will be having, of course, ALA in Chicago in 2023. And we're just really thrilled to celebrate our collective values with one another. We are working with Chicago-based artist Theastra Gates and the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. And of course, Theaster is an internationally renowned artist with exhibits at SF MoMA and in New York, and just a luminary in the city. And he's done so much work with the Ebony Archives and creating space to celebrate African-American legacy and excellence and storytelling. And we're really thrilled that we're going to be working with him to create an installation in the Harold Washington Library Center as part of this book sanctuary effort, something to give some visibility, aspiration, and some physicality to this campaign. So a big shout out to Theaster Gates, and Chicagoans can look forward to that in the fall of 2023.
Oh, that's so exciting. I got a chance to watch the video interview with him that was on the Book Sanctuary website. That is so thrilling to hear that he's going to have that art installation, though. That's going to be a huge thing. So thank you for sharing that with us. Can't wait to see it.
Of course.
Well, I know you have a big anniversary coming up this year at Chicago Public Library. Anything that you've got planned that you want to share a little bit about with us?
Well, I'm just honored that I get to be in this commissioner role during this 150th celebration. I think our libraries are always a story of what our cities and counties and civic leaders and local residents have co-created together. These institutions are not to be taken for granted. They took decades of engagement and committees to develop, and just decades of capital investment. And when you look at where we started in a humble water tower in 1873 after the Chicago fire, and looking at that legacy and how Queen Victoria and her fellow Britons came together and donated our first collection, and how we've really had that civic leadership engagement and Chicagoan neighborhood engagement all throughout our journey, to the point where we now have 81 locations in our 77 neighborhoods. It's going to be a wonderful story to celebrate. And so we're going to be partnering with PRX. They do the famous podcast Ear Hustle, and we're going to be working with them to do some episodic storytelling about the Chicago Public Library story. So that's going to be happening in June, and we really look forward to sharing more about that in the coming months. But we'll be having celebrations all year long, and so folks can look at our website to see what we have coming, or if other libraries are having their celebrations, check us out to get inspired, and we can share ideas.
That's great. We're so excited that you all are able to celebrate such a fantastic experience with the city of Chicago and how you've served them. And I can't wait to participate in some of the events you have planned. It's really exciting stuff.
It'll be good to see you in person, because I know we've been mostly Zoom, except for ILA.
That's true. So it'll be good to have a chance to see you face to face.
Yeah.
But thank you, Chris, so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to hear what's going on, and I hope we get a chance to talk more about some of this soon.
Thank you. And I want to thank Rails and your team and your staff for all you do. You're so instrumental, of course, in our recruitment, but just seeing all of the professional development you offer and the resources. I'm just thrilled that we could be colleagues and be connected and supporting one another. So thank you, Monica, for your leadership and your team.
Thank you, Chris. Look forward to working more together as we move through the year. Thank you very much for listening to Sparks today. Sparks is produced by the Reaching Across Illinois Library System. If you would like to learn more about the show or share your feedback on the topics discussed, please visit railslibraries.info/sparks.